Hey, so this week's been rough for a lot of reasons, but I guess I want to use that as an opportunity to talk about why we do this, why we play games, why we tell stories, uh, especially when the world seems like it's going to fall apart personally, locally, globally, who knows? Is it ethical to spend our time creating fantasies when people are suffering and dying all around us? And I don't know the answer to that. I think a lot of people struggle with that. It's hard. There's a certain desire to maximize the impact you have in the world, and taking time to do things that are fun and fulfilling for yourself often run counter to that ideal, because there's so much work that needs to be done. There's so many problems that need to be solved. There's so many injustices that need to be righted. There's so many people that need to be saved. So how do you juggle that? How do you juggle doing work that is not directly helping people, and spending your time and your energy and your focus on things that are not, healing the sick, not feeding the hungry, not clothing the cold and sheltering those without homes? How can you do that? And I don't know is the answer. All I can say is that humans are creatures of multiple depths. We have material needs, we have social needs. If you've ever played The Sims, you know the bars. We need to pee, we need to eat, we need to relax, we need to socialize. And so, in one aspect, taking care of yourself is a fundamentally human act, because if you don't take care of your needs, then you will fall apart. And at the end of the day, you can do more together than you can in pieces. But I think specifically for gaming, for things that we do, these hobbies, I think tabletop games specifically allow us to model other ways of being, other ways of living in a world that we can't make sense of. It gives us a sense of agency. It lets us try on different decisions. It lets us envision a world where there can be justice and where there can be fairness and safety and compassion. And sometimes it's important. Sometimes it's easy to lose sight of the things that we need to fight for. When everything's bad, it's easy just to lash out at everything because it's all bad. But that doesn't build things. That doesn't create new structures. It doesn't create new homes. It doesn't cook meals. It doesn't clothe anyone. You just break things, and someone else has to pick up the pieces. So what can gaming do? And what do we get out of gaming? It lets us model that world. It lets us kind of take a look at ourselves and pull that out and put that into a story that we can understand, that we can wrap our minds around and say, this is what I believe justice is. This is what I believe compassion is. And this is what I believe the world should look like. This is me trying to fight against all of the darkness and feeling like I can make a difference. Sometimes that's all you can do. Like, history has proven again and again and again that there's always going to be more horrible shit coming down the line. And it's easy to fall into this nihilistic despair where nothing that you do matters because it's always going to be bad. And only by crafting these stories and repeating them to ourselves and others do we have some sense of hope that we can model for ourselves and for our children and our children's children. What is our society if not a story told so often and to so many people that it just becomes accepted? Like, we wouldn't be here if we didn't believe in the shared fiction of a possible just world where people could live together and benefit one another. So to take on that role of envisioning, of dreaming, of being that person that can put out hope into the world, that's what gaming does. It lets you build that skill. Because at the end of the day, like, you need to understand that you can be a hero no matter who you are or what circumstances you have to deal with. You can choose to make the right choices for you. You can choose to fight for what you believe in, even if it's painful, even if it'll cost you. Because at the end of the day, that's all we have, right? We have our choices. And what are games if not a series of meaningful choices, a series of trade-offs, a series of optimizations for an end goal? And what is the goal of a story if not to better understand ourselves and our place in the world? Like, story games, tabletop games have a unique sort of place where they readily let you access emotional depths and emotional modes that you may not ever have access to in your regular life. You may not be able to feel triumphant. You may not be able to feel feminine. You may not be able to feel strong or able, but you can in these spaces within the boundaries of your imagination and the trust that you have with the other players at the table, that shared sense of acceptance for whatever you put out, whatever vision of the world you put out, whatever vision of your own identity that you put out. So I don't think it's frivolous. I think it's a different pathway to the same thing that art has always given us. This sense that we can be more than the basest sum of our parts. It is the same thing that religion has always given us. It is this idea that we can transcend these mortal bodies and be better. Every religion has these archetypes, these models of virtue. And what are you doing in a game, a tabletop game, if not modeling your own sense of what virtue is for that character? It doesn't always have to be universal virtue. It can be very personal virtue. But it's at least a choice. It's a choice to take action in a world that needs action. So, do what you can. Take care of yourself this week and all weeks. But don't think for a minute that it is unnecessary or frivolous to dream, to build a concept of what hope is, to build this vision of the world as it could be, as opposed to how it is. So, I'll talk to you next week, I guess.